I wanted to talk about some advanced scent control for deer. And everyone has a scent regimen. Some people don't control their scent much at all. Some people rely on contraptions, sprays, gels, whatever it might be to control their scent. There's all kinds of carbon dust out there. And I have a scent regimen. I've shot a lot of mature bucks, high pressure areas, typically shoot my target buck maybe 70-80% of the time over the last 30 years, if you look at it that way. So what I do works. It works for me, and I think it'd work for anybody. Some people have so much scent control that it seems like they spend a half hour in scent control every time they go out into the woods. And that is, folks, that's just a big waste of time. I'm busy, you're busy. We don't have time for that kind of stuff. I don't, and it's just a waste of time. I'm going to talk about what actually works, real world deer hunting scent control. This is advanced scent control because it kind of is getting back to the basics, but at the same time, a lot of those basics are really overlooked in today's deer hunting. So I want to talk about what works and really want you to watch this, because as we go through this and as we go through these steps, this is something that's conceptual. It's something that's a recipe for success, but it's not something that's going to take a lot of time for you to understand. And certainly, even though it's advanced, take a lot of time to prepare for when you go out in the woods this fall. I want you to be effective when you're hunting and really narrow it down to what works the best in the field. And this is what started. I'm looking at this. Let's say this is a 40-acre parcel. These X's are stand location, and those dots are access to stand locations. And I want you to follow through these steps. It's going to get better as we go along. I want you to stay tuned to the end. It's really important. And at the end, if you like this, please subscribe. Just throw that out there. First thing, a lot of times lands are destroyed because hunters are starting at a given point, and it might even be that they're starting on the side over here, and you're going out to stands. And let's just look at this in all these comparisons as a 3-day hunt, 2 people. So you're on 40 acres, it's a 3-day weekend hunt, and folks are accessing their stands and they're traveling to these stands on the property. And we'll talk about that in a second and how you can control your scent and what's important. But you're accessing these stands. And because of that, you know, a lot of times people are focusing way too much about what's going on in these stand locations. You're looking at, okay, I want to hunt this trail right here, so I'm blowing my scent this way. But you just walk through the entire property with your scent blowing this way, meaning you just took out a large area, just going to that one stand where deer smelled you. And if we're talking does and fawns and young bucks, you know, they can take a little bit more, but even then they have their limits. But if we're talking about the older bucks in the neighborhood, if you actually want to shoot those, if you'd rather shoot some of the big bucks than your neighbors, whatever the reason, if you like those biggest bucks in the neighborhood, whatever age they are, you can't do this on a regular basis, because every time you access from the inside of your property out, you're pushing the deer off the property. That's why a lot of times I see a lot of stand locations located on these outer areas of the property, because hunters are simply going out, pushing the deer off, and they're waiting for those deer to come back on to your land. You do that with scent, sight, sound, but especially scent. You know, it might be that you have the perfect scent for this stand because you're waiting for deer to come through off the neighbor's land. So you're blowing your scent back into your property, maybe an east wind in that situation. Well, when you access that stand, you just took out this entire area. And you can quickly see, you know, there's a stand location right there. Let's say we have a wind blowing in off the neighbors like this. Well, on the way to the stand, you just took out this entire area on the way to the stand. So it doesn't take long in using, in this case, there's what, five stands on a 40-acre parcel. You have 2 hunters. In 3 days of hunting, you just blew out your entire property. The deer have all the advantage. You're not going to stand a chance. And the ramification of this goes on for a week or two, not just, well, it'll clear up by Monday or clear up by Tuesday, or it'll clear up tomorrow after we spook them off today. Folks, it just doesn't happen. It happens in some of the fantasy land states where there's not a lot of pressure, but even then, those mature bucks that are 4, 5, 6 years old in those areas don't get to that age by being stupid or allowing hunters to place this much scent in the woods and then actually still stick around for more. So we're gonna take that out. You do not want to access your land this way, in this manner, where you're accessing inside out. Talked about that a lot before, and then waiting for the deer to come back to your land. That's what most people's parcel is. It's an inside out parcel. Instead, we have stand locations wherever they might be around the property. There's a nice funnel right through, a creek system, whatever it might be. But you're accessing from the outside in to get to these stand locations. And what that does is it allows you to get to these stands. Maybe you have another access where you can come in this way. You can go in one way for morning and one way for dark, afternoon, evening, getting in and out. But you start to develop a core area on your land where deer can actually call home every single day during the daylight. And this is key, because during the daylight's when it really matters. If you think about mature bucks in a mixed ag area, mixed woodlot setting, mixed area, we have quite a few hunters. I'm thinking Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Minnesota, Indiana, Ohio, New York, some of these big deer hunter number states that have a lot of pressure. Then mature bucks, especially, if you just look at them, they're going to move the longest during the daylight every day compared to does. The does are just going to have a fraction of that movement. Does might move 50 to 150 yards during the daylight every single day. The majority of the season, bucks might move 200 to 400 yards in that situation where you're kind of slotted in small parcels all over the place. So you're really just thinking in that window, 200 to 400 yards at most. So 40 acres doesn't sound like a lot, but when you consider that bucks don't move that much during the daylight, almost the entire hunting season, and even during the rut, they're going to be within that window half the time back in their core area. So you're only talking a handful of days that they're really moving. They move a lot if they're looking for better food. They move a lot if their cover's blown out, if they don't have the type of cover they need. But if you provide what they need during the fall in food and cover, and you don't spook it out, I call that an outside in property, inside out. If it makes sense, if you're going on the inside and you're pushing your deer out, you're waiting for them to come back in, I'd prefer that you hunt on this outside right here, and you have those deer on the inside of your property. They're actually working out, and I don't want to make this confusing. If we'll just talk about deer, where they're on the inside of your property because you gave them enough room, and they're working out, and then they go to your neighbors after dark. That's a perfect way to manage your scent, because you're only laying scent down in this area right here, and accessing those stands, you're still giving those deer that core area, where if you're axing on the inside of your property and going into stands, you don't have that core area. So there's a couple ways, making sure that the deer are inside your property, you're not laying down scent, you're not putting that scent in there on the way to your stands, and that's a great way to manage your scent. But that's not the most important way. I want to talk about a web of scent. When you're on stand and you have these stand locations around here, people think that it's all about the stand location. And so you're on this stand right here and you think, well, the deer movement's here. If I'm blowing my scent here, that's fine. No, because you just blew out the half your property by getting there. And then when you're on the stand, you're blowing it downwind. And you can never control your scent while on stand unless you're blowing your scent away from deer. You can't rely on a contraption, some type of spray. I'm talking about mature deer. You can always fool some youngsters here and there. And there's a lot of times I think a wind is blowing at a deer and you're up on a ridge system and it blows right over them, and someone says, hey, the wind was right at my back, it's blowing right at the deer. Well, they're below you, the thermals are rising in the morning, and they just didn't smell you. Because if your scent's blowing at them, you're going to spook those deer in all but few percentage points of the entire country where deer just don't seem to care about anything. Maybe those big subdivision areas, suburban areas where deer are used to that smell. So controlling your scent on stand. If you hunt that way that you can control your scent on stand as you're blowing towards deer, you're going to fail the majority of the time. You might get lucky here and there, but I want people that are consistent. I want you to have consistent success over a long period of time and take hunting skills that you can pass down to your family, friends, kids, grandkids, and they can be successful for years to come. If you rely on scent and blowing your scent while you're on stand at a deer and something to cover it up, you're not going to be able to pass down those effective traditions of actual high hunting skill, which is what this channel is all about. What you can control, even if you're accessing on the outside and you're trying to hold those core deer on the inside, so you have that inside out parcel where deer are in the inside and they're moving out and you're protecting them. So you're accessing these stands from around. Let's say that you have a way, like we have some good ways with the elevation change. We use this because it's pretty basic and it's hard to explain. Like we have a ski trail or an old snowmobile trail that goes through the property. Huge drop off on one side, cliff on the other. So we can slam our wind into that cliff. There's no deer bedding around that sandy, washed out, rocky area. We could walk right through the property in the middle of the day. And we're trying to control. When we get here, we blow our scent in the right location so we're not blowing it at deer. But imagine the spider web of scent, going back to if you have two guys hunting for 3 days, that you lay down if you have dirty boots, dirty legs, dirty arms, if you haven't controlled the amount of grass in your path to your stands, if you haven't sprayed down, then you leave a spider web of scent. So let's say you're doing a great job on stand, you're blowing your scent in the right direction, but you're not controlling how clean you are to get to that point. Because again, it doesn't matter how dirty you are, if you're on stand and your scent's blown at a mature buck, you're gonna spook them. And I wouldn't rely on anything, any kind of advertisement that tells you otherwise. Really, really try to avoid that. But you can control your scent on the way to and from your stands, I believe. You have clean boots, you have clean clothes. You make sure that you're not walking through a bunch of grass like a sponge on the way to your stand where it soaks up scent. So really good opportunity. Imagine if there were 2 hunters, 3 days, and you're leaving the scent trail through the woods every time you go to stand locations. Maybe you have these stands like we do where it's a cliff and we can blow our scent off that cliff in the morning. We're leaving that scent trail. Imagine the spider web. Maybe we get over this stand that way because it's through a cut. But imagine the spider web of scent that you're laying down if you have dirty boots, dirty clothes, and you're relying on some contraption or whatever when you're on stand. Imagine the scent trail that you leave down throughout the entire woods over a 3-day weekend hunt. It is astronomical. That means there's not one deer that can cross through your land and not hit your scent in any way, let alone if they're in this core and moving out. You're just not going to be able to control your scent. That's the most effective and most advanced form of scent control that you can actually apply to your hunting this fall. Manage your trails going in and out. The fancy term for that is scent signature. You want to control your scent signature in the woods. It sounds fancy. Folks, you just want to control your path, your trail, your access to your stand. We use a Limit for spray. Great product. I've used other good products in the past too, but I'm spraying down my boots and my legs. I'm deathly afraid of leaving any scent trail in the woods. Clean boots. Don't bring them into the gas station. We keep them outside the truck in the bed of the pickup, and I spray them down continuously. And then hunting clothes. Keeping my clothes clean, making sure that they are not leaving a scent control. We have a nice buck that I'm hoping to see this year. He's a beautiful 9-point huge. We're just sticking some cameras out for him today. I'm hoping to find him. But he'll be a giant this year on our Coon Valley property. And he walked right over my scent within a half hour of me accessing that stand, 45 minutes. And he had no clue he was around for a couple minutes, but it's because of the clean boots. We have a trail right there that is smashed down. We can walk through. We don't have grass coming up or weeds and hitting our legs on the way in. It's completely scent-free, whether it's my scent that's going down to the ground or the vegetation that we can control. Clean clothes, clean boots, spraying down, making sure you take care of the sticks and debris and garbage and weeds and grasses that might come up and hit you on the way in. That's how you make sure that you manage your hunt. If you think you're going to manage your hunt by hunting all these stands in a weekend, even 2 or 3 on 40 acres, if you're intersecting and going through your entire property and you're leaving scent down on the trails in and out, and that scent's laying there, let alone at your stand location. I don't want to fiddle around and put anything on when I get to my stand location. I want to go right up the ladder. I want to get to that ladder, hang my bow. This is a 20-second thing where I'm already above deer level within 20 seconds of getting to that stand. I don't want to sit there and put something on, change my clothes, and sit there for 5 minutes. Think about it. That could increase my exposure to deer that are walking by that stand location 50 times over just stepping and getting up quickly on a pre-hung stand. Now we're hunting out on public land, I have to use my climbers. They're a necessary evil. But even then, I'm trying very carefully not to kneel down in the leaves. I'm not trying to leave that scent at the bottom of the stand, let alone the 1.5 miles that I'm walking to that stand, or 40 minutes or 30 minutes like we do around here in Southwest Wisconsin, Minnesota. We have those access. We're going uphill and we're spiderwebbing our scent all over the place. So make sure that you're controlling your scent on the way in. A lot of times by you hunting from the outside of your property in, that's going to help you. Maybe you have some deep ravines. We have a snowmobile trail with cliffs that we can get in through. Maybe you have some wetlands, some water that you can blow your scent into and get through the middle of your property and access. So make sure you're controlling your scent on the way in and out. Make sure you're staying clean, but really when it boils down to the scent you have on the stand and where you're blowing your scent, the best form of scent control outside of making sure you don't leave scent to and from your stands is making sure that you've located your stand appropriately and smartly so you're not blowing your scent into where you expect the deer to travel. That's how you manage your scent for a long weekend of hunting, let alone guys that are taking off and hunters that are taking off a full 7 to 10 days during the season, and you have to manage your scent that entire time. Try to control leaving a spiderweb of scent throughout your entire land, and if you don't, doesn't matter what happens on stand or where you're blowing your scent or even how you access. If you don't control that spiderweb of scent over a 2-3 day season, it has an effect of 2 or 3 weeks to come, and you can burn out your season just hunting every 2 weeks and not controlling your scent. Think about that. What's your web of scent on your land, your hunt, your private land, your public land hunt this fall? If you control that web of scent, you're going to have a great fall, and that's the #1 way and most advanced way to control your scent while deer hunting this season. Well, if you made it to the end of this video, you're obviously interested in whitetail habitat solutions and what I have to teach, and you will love my new web class series. The first one is how to design your whitetail property. It's out now. The link is in the description. I invite you to check it out. It's on my website. Can't wait to hear about it.